Boom! What's up, familia? Dayspring here with an episode of Power of X-Men to discuss X-Men Blue Origins by Cy Spurrier and art by Wilton Santos and Marcus too. Now, spoiler warning ahead for X-Men Blue Origins. So if you don't want to hear any of the spoilers for this issue, obviously now's the time to tap out. But my apologies for not dropping this video sooner. I did read this issue with ample timing, and I wanted to record my thoughts on it, but I've been traveling for work. I've been to Vegas. I've been to DC. I'm back in LA now. I have to go to Chicago. I have to go back to Vegas, and finally I'll somehow land in New York. It's probably a blessing that I did not discuss my thoughts initially, because I probably looked at this issue with more of a critical eye than it needed to be. But it also gave me an opportunity to talk to other people in our community, see some of the comments, see some of the DMs that were coming in, and let my thoughts marinate on it. But I want to say, first and foremost, I love the idea that Destiny and Mystique are Nightcrawler's biological parents. And this was Chris Claremont's idea for the character back in the 80s. And so some of you probably may or may not know this. We did another video on X-Men Blue Origins when it was being solicited. We kind of broke down the solicitation and went through Nightcrawler's editorial history. So please go check out that video. It's on our page here. But basically, in a nutshell, he was originally conceived as a demon who fled hell, who then went to Earth, failed on his mission, could not return to hell, so would be an anti-hero on Earth. From there, he kind of evolved into the Nightcrawler we know today. Claremont wanted Nightmare to be his father because they both have pointy ears. But then he couldn't use Nightmare because Nightmare was a Doctor Strange villain. And that's when he came up with the idea of doing Destiny and Mystique. However, because of the comics code at the time, he wasn't allowed to tell that story. Then Scott Lobdell got onto the character, and that's how we got Count Wagner. And then Chuck Austin did the Draco and made Azazel his father. What Cy Spurrier did in this issue was go back to Claremont's idea from the 80s that Mystique would shapeshift into a man and impregnate Destiny. I love this idea. I think the idea is really, really good. I am shocked at seeing some of the backlash online because this has always been a widely accepted, behind the scenes story among X-fans at this point, decades ago, even before the Draco was published. And that's why when the Draco was published back in the early aughts, it was kind of confusing to us because we were like, wait a minute, why is Mystique in love with this demon Azazel when we know, even though it was not confirmed at the time, but a very big open secret that Destiny and Mystique would be together at this point. And the way in my head canon kind of worked, I was like, oh, maybe Mystique and Irene were just fighting during this time and they were seeing other people, right? And Mystique has more of an omnisexual approach to her identity. But it was still jarring that happened because we were like, well, why is this retcon even happening to begin with? Why are we getting Azazel here? We've talked to Chuck Austin on the podcast before. Please go check out that episode also that we have with Chuck Austin. He's a really nice guy. I know he gets a lot of hate out there, even with some of the reviews I've been listening to online. We go back to the Draco and the hate that's there, but Chuck Austin is a really nice guy. His approach to the X books at the time, and it was because editorial was encouraging this, was to have more of a romance novel vibe. And that's why you have Nurse Annie and Havoc. That is why you have Azazel and Mystique. It's very forbidden love. And that was the market they were trying to capture at the time. Also the manga market. That's why you have those manga heavy inspired issues during that era and his run. So, it still was kind of curious for us when that was happening. So that's the only reason why I can surmise why that retcon even happened in the first place. Now, I was talking to someone in the comments on Power of X-Men's Instagram page, and they said, I love the idea of Mystique and Destiny being Nightcrawler's parents. I love that idea. However, perhaps that ship has sailed because we've had retcon after retcon with the character. And you know what? I feel that's a fair point. I really do feel that's a fair point, because the one thing I'm thinking when I'm reading this issue is, why do we even need this retcon to happen now? I like it. I like it so much. Again, I want to completely stress that, because I think people online are being like, what? How can they be Nightcrawler's parents? And you're like, have you not been an X fan? Like, and these are seasoned older X readers who clearly have been reading the comics since the 80s and 90s, that are shocked to find out that Mystique and Destiny are Nightcrawler's parents. Regardless of how I personally feel, regardless of how they feel, I'm like, why is this retcon happening now? It just seems kind of out of the blue, but it happened. And I think the idea is great, but I think the execution is poorly done. Oh, I know. And we've also had Cy Sperry on the podcast, and he's a great guy. But I just think the writing in this issue was needlessly complicated, right? I thought, and I think this was in our X-Men Blue Origins, I would have approached this origin story, I would have respected everything that came before, while somehow bridging, this missing information. And I don't think Cy did it that well. I think it was needlessly complicated. Paul's idea was that Mystique would have shapeshifted into a man, impregnated Destiny. Somehow that pregnancy would have been in jeopardy, and in order to save the baby, they would have made a deal with the devil, aka Azazel, and Azazel will be like, okay, I'm going to save your baby, but I'm going to transfer it from Destiny's womb to Raven's womb, and I'm going to give it some of my DNA. That's what I think is a pretty straightforward story. It's a deal with the devil. That is a classic literary trope. And I think that's, boom, very straightforward. You can still keep a lot of, the origin. But what happens here is that Mystique is just faking a pregnancy with Count Wagner, and it's Destiny who's pregnant with Nightcrawler and actually gives birth to Nightcrawler. And she then did not try to throw baby Kurt off the waterfall. She set him down safely by a tree. And when she came back, the baby was gone. And Mystique has secretly always been a great mother and has been longing for Nightcrawler for about 5 years. And she can't get over it. She's so upset at Destiny. Destiny goes missing. And so when she finally catches up with Destiny says this was part of a larger picture, because Azazel is going to rise to power one day, and the only way to stop him is for him to think he has a baby. But now let's go to Xavier, and Xavier is going to mind wipe everything that happened. And I'm just like, wow, that is needlessly complicated. I think it is an assassination on Mystique's character. I love Mystique as a cold-hearted assassin who will stand at a waterfall with her baby and this is a story of just drama. And I think the way it was handled in the X-Men animated series was so beautiful, which was Mystique runs to the waterfall. She's holding baby Kurt. She lifts up, and then it flashes to her eyes and she's crying, because even Mystique, who's this cold-hearted assassin, this is too much for her. And I think that's where a lot of the intrigue with this fictional character lies. I think the fact that she's now blaming Xavier for wiping her memories of loving Kurt, I'm like, give me a break. I mean, I'm talking about this from an editorial standpoint. There is no reason why they should blame Xavier. Irene and Mystique should not be blaming Xavier for taking away Mystique's love for Nightcrawler, because they asked Xavier to do it. In fact, Xavier even point blank says in this writing, he says, I'm going to even mind wipe it for myself because this is really personal. So, I wasn't really jiving with that. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, again, these characters are coming across extremely stupid, because why would Mystique then blame Xavier in that situation? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? You sought Xavier out, and Xavier even mind wiped his own brain about all of this. And so Xavier says, so, now with the mind wiping, it's not a mind wipe, it's, editing the memories. With this memory edit, some of the truth and lies get kind of like mixed in together. And that's the waterfall scene is now officially omitted from Kurt's story. And I think that was a big mistake as well. I think Mystique at the waterfall with baby Nightcrawler is an iconic moment in X-Men history, in Nightcrawler's history, because Mystique did the most despicable thing imaginable to him. And he grew up a man of faith. And when he found out Mystique did this, he still forgave her, still loved her, and still had faith. I thought that is a beautiful approach to the Nightcrawler character. Absolutely beautiful. And it services the Mystique character, because Mystique, being extremely cold-hearted, this was a moment that was even too intense for her. It's just beautiful. I mean, now that she's been secretly a great mom this entire time, and she's always loved Nightcrawler, it's just, I don't want a well-adjusted Mystique. I want a cold-hearted assassin Mystique. We have so many characters with big hearts in the Marvel universe, okay? We have Storm, we have Jean, we have Wolverine, we have Nightcrawler himself, we have Colossus. All these characters have big, beautiful hearts that believe in families. It's okay to write fictional characters who are assassins and cold-hearted, and still you can get glimpses into their humanity. But I just think this is such a terrible approach for Mystique. And I think Mystique was perfect up until Inferno. Again, Inferno for me is where the Krakoan age sort of started falling apart. And that was Hickman's story. I was like, I don't know what story this is, Hickman, but it's not doing well for me. But Mystique wanting to resurrect Irene, oh my goodness. And the fact that Moira is saying we can't have any precogs on Krakoa, so we're not resurrecting Mystique. It's beautiful, wonderful drama. And I wish that would have been drawn out a little bit more. But, that probably is one of the better parts of Inferno, was the resurrection of Destiny. That was pretty fun. I don't want to take away from that. But I would have made that the central epic story. I guess we are coming to the end of the Krakoan age. According to solicitations, it looks like Krakoa is just, we're going to start a new chapter next year. But I would have made the final battle Mystique resurrecting Destiny and them going after Xavier, Magneto, and Moira. That would have been my big epic blowout to end the Krakoan age. Something big and epic, and all these various timelines are now at risk. I would have done a Secret Wars level event. I wouldn't have Shadowcat with a K, Kamala, Wolverine going up against Nimrod. That's just, it feels inconsequential to me. But anyways, I will tell you, I think this does explain why Mystique had that level of a reaction at the Hellfire Gala, because it is explained in story that when the Resist protocols were kind of coming to fruition, that is when Mystique's memories were unlocked. And in the context of the story and in the context of the world building, it makes perfect sense that Mystique would flip out, lose her composure, and fall out the window. I remember I said this, I was like, oh, the world's greatest assassin, this is how she dies, putting her hand on her head and screaming and falling out the window. It was laughable, it was pathetic. In the context of the story, it was laughable and pathetic, I'm sorry. But in the context of the story, in the context of this story of the Hellfire Gala, her memories of loving Kurt, of losing Kurt, came back, so it caught her off guard, and that's why she fell out the window. It's ridiculous again. And this makes Destiny seem like a very despicable character because she separated them from their son. And I always thought Mystique was the one who was cold-hearted. And it's actually Destiny here. Mystique's the one who's really feeling. So these roles are reversed. Again, it's the writing in this. And it's very interesting because we can't have these nuanced conversations because a lot of people are gravitating towards the fact that Mystique and Destiny created Nightcrawler. And, this issue goes out of its way to explain that Mystique not only copies a person, she copies, genetic coding. I've always assumed that when Mystique shapeshifts, her entire body anatomy changes, genetics and as well. And now it opens up the door. It's like, well, can Mystique replicate an X gene? Can she make herself an Inhuman? Can she make herself a Skrull? It was needlessly too in depth on that. I just think Mystique just had to say, what do you, I can shapeshift into a man. That's it. You know what I mean? When Nightcrawler asked, like, how did two women choose here? Like, I just shapeshift into man Kurt, like smack. Like, it's not that complicated, right? This is, and I don't understand why, in the context of world building, people find this so hard to believe and are so angry about it and are saying that Marvel's pushing an agenda, because it's not agenda pushing. This is an idea that has been around for decades. It's something that was very widely accepted among X fans. You know, it's not something that's different. This isn't a new story that was just created. This was a recycled idea from decades ago. And I like it. It's just confirmed. But for me, it's just that there's a major shift in the Destiny and Mystique characterizations. I think messing with that iconic scene from Nightcrawler's origin, which we pulled on Power of X-Men. And I forgot what the numbers were, but we had over 1,000 votes on this. And 80% of people were like, you should have kept the waterfall scene. The waterfall scene should have been kept. Anyways, Familia, you drop your feels on X-Men Blue Origins down below. Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Do you like these revisions to Nightcrawler's history? What are we going to see with the Darkholme Adler family household now? Let us know your thoughts. As I've always said, I don't always need the focus to be on the Summers family. I would love to see the Darkholmes. I would love to see the House of M. I would love to see all these other families, the Guthries. I would love to see all these other families and their dynamics told, especially in today's day and age. So the Darkholmes, Adler family, like let's get some more stories with them. Let's see how their dynamic works. Heck, resurrect Great and Creed and have a family dinner. I would love to see it all. But anyways, Familia, you drop your feels on it below.